What's up, everybody? Daniel Francisco here. Alexander is feeling lazy tonight. He didn't want to join me for this tirade, but we've got some feedback with people responding to the last video and also asking about some of the bills that are coming down the pike into the Judiciary Committee this week. So I'm here to respond to it, but I'm actually going to say some things that might surprise you. I might get a little emotional because I'm frankly tired of the way that people in New Jersey just have this complete inability to recognize patterns and recognize history and change from it. First, let's start with the permitting, the permitting stuff that we talked about in the last video. Last time we talked about the tactics that we would use and how we use our phones and have these discussions at the police departments to document the fraud and the corruption that's going on, i.e. Putting additional restrictions on our permitting process. And inevitably, it seems that when we put out these videos, some people find it useful, which makes me, it heartens me, and it makes me very happy that we're trying to progress. But one thing that annoys me is a lot of people just start volunteering their story about how their permits are getting delayed. And then they ask silly questions like, what should I do? Should I call them again? We just went through this process of what to do with these videos. And again, I'm not trying to come off as angry. I'm going to sound a little bitter, but I think this is important that everybody hears this and I drive it into everyone's heads because we need to change. New Jersey is not going to change through the democratic process. It is not going to happen. Anyone that tells you that in today's, today in a snapshot of where we live right now in this year is lying to you, okay? It's just, it's arithmetic. It's a mathematical impossibility that democracy is going to solve the problems of our Second Amendment rights. All right, so anyone that, if you want to get involved with a group that lobbies or calls legislators or pickets and protests legislators, if that's what you want to do, that's fantastic. That's not what NJ2AS is here to do. In my opinion, that's ineffective. It's a waste of time. I've said this before when we've talked about going to Trenton and these protests and protesting these bills. Here we are again, another week where we're facing 4 or 5 bills, and everybody wants to know, what does NJ2AS say? What does Alexander Rubian think? We've been doing this for years, for decades. Every year we come to this point, 5 new bills come out, and everybody rushes out with this commotion. How do we respond? What do we do? We've said this at every speech that we've had for the last 3 years. We've said it on the previous podcasts. If we get to the point where bills are getting brought up to committee in the state of New Jersey with a Democratic majority in the Assembly, in the Senate, and in the governor's mansion, we already lost. It is too late. The fight is not in responding to the government. That is the colossal failure of this movement that I don't know why everyone seems to fail to recognize, okay? I'm going to say it again. Our job is not to respond to the government. Our job is to make the government respond to us. And here's how we don't do that. We don't do that by waiting for the bills to come out and then rushing to write letters to legislators and showing up at the State House when the bills are being tabled in committee and sending faxes and emails. Nothing makes me more sick than reading online people saying, well, I sent an email to my legislator and I gave him a piece of my mind and I quoted these statistics. That is the most moronic thing I've ever heard in my life. Do you honestly think that is doing anything? Do you think they are reading it? They live in a progressive environment where their electorate is completely progressive. It's a total majority. Them not pandering to you and ignoring you is a bonus to their image. It's not a detriment. It's not going to risk their seat. It's going to embolden their seat by them not listening to you. So you're doing things that they don't care about, right? They're not going to respond to that. I've done a couple of speeches with Alexander where I've given a story about an analogy about a moth, all right? And I think this is a very important analogy. Imagine you're in your house and you're sitting there with a light on and a moth comes flying through the window, all right? And you want that moth to leave. You wouldn't start screaming at this moth saying, get out of my house, go back out the window, get out of here. You'd be an idiot to be screaming at an animal, an insect that has a brain the size of a speck of sand, right? No, if you were doing that, people would think you are crazy, all right? The moth speaks a certain language but it's not human speech. It's not English. It doesn't understand you. It speaks light. That's what it understands. So if you want the moth to leave your house, you don't scream at it, right? You turn off the lights inside your house, you go outside, you open a door, you turn on a light outside, and the moth will go out of the house, right? You spoke its language. Now, I can get into later on what I think that metaphorical language is, and we've discussed it with Alexander before. It's things like the isms that we've always discussed: racism, sexism, discrimination. The terms that modern progressives in our environment care about. That's the wedge that you drive to win on our issues. I've said this a million times before. If we're going to win on guns, you have to stop talking about guns, because talking about guns is a losing issue. It's like speaking in English to a moth. They don't understand it, okay? So when these bills come out and you start talking about statistics and legal rhetoric and constitutionality and how cerebral your thoughts are, you're yelling in English at a moth, okay? These moths are our politicians. They're stupid creatures. They don't understand what you're saying. And so by you yelling at them, you're equally stupid as them. Sorry. So what's my next point here? It's an arithmetic game. We can't win that. We talk about these laws every time they come up, and it's a colossal waste of time. So here we are sitting on 4 or 5 new laws, and the commotion from the group is, well, what's our response? What are we going to do? We've laid out what our new philosophy is and what our new tactics are. If you've watched the last 2 videos, we've already discussed, what we want to do. And one of the examples of that on a small level is the Jackson situation with documenting the permitting process. And then in our second video, we actually showed you how to do it, right? How to go in, what to say. So one thing we have to stop, right? We all know it's not a secret anymore. This is 2019. If you live in New Jersey and every time you go file for a permit, you still want to clamor to your friends, your like-minded friends, oh my God, I've waited 3 months for my permit. What should I do? Call the chief again? Oh, they didn't pick up the phone. Everybody already knows they cheat, okay? We know that. They know that. They don't care. Our friends know that. The people in the other gun groups know that. The people in the other right-wing groups know that. It doesn't matter, okay? If you're going online to post about how your permit's getting delayed, you're wasting your time and you're wasting everyone else's time. We all already know these injustices are happening. If you want things to change, you have to go on offense and document those injustices. That is the only way we're going to move forward on this battle. We can't be talking about these things. We can't be reacting to them when the bills come out. If we had 75 videos of different police departments in New Jersey creating these absurd restrictions that were basically preventing people from even applying for the permits on video, we'd have a colossal marketing campaign to use and to actually stop this from happening. Look at Jackson. Alexander has already updated you guys on that situation, and we have news coming out on it. It's already turning around. They're already changing their words on how their policy is in their department. And all it took was 2 ounces of pressure, 1 ounce of documentation, 1 simple letter to Ocean County prosecutor, and the tune is changing, all right? It didn't get changed because someone went on Facebook and cried about how long their permit is taking. It changed when you made their situation uncomfortable, okay? We have to stop pandering to them in a reactionary context. They don't care. They're the moth flying around. They don't understand English. You have to put pressure on them with documented evidence of fraud that you will then share with us, share with Alexander and the team, so that he can market it and blast it to the wide community and partners that we work with. That's how we're going to win, all right? So please, when we put out these videos, they have a purpose. They have an intention. Please watch the videos in their entirety because, like I told Alexander, I'm not coming on here to just talk, to listen to myself speak. I mean, I can do that on my own time. I'm coming here with a distinct purpose of getting results, of pushing the ball down the field and helping us enjoy our rights and restore some semblance of them back in our lives, all right? So please, if you have any questions about anything I'm saying, I know I'm a little bit fired up. It's a little bit more emotional, but we're putting out these videos, and I just see the same things getting said and people caught in the same rhetoric. We are not a social group. We're not a legislative group. We're not here to go protest. We're not here to engage in little silly campaigns online. We're here to document fraud and distribute it and expose it and put pressure on the enemies of our liberties so that we can move the ball forward and increment the amount of rights that we get to enjoy. If you have any questions about this philosophy, comment at the bottom of the video. But I really hope that we can move things forward and start progressing towards a better future for our state. Thanks, everybody.